This is Emma Laughlin, Communications Intern with Farm Credit Financial Partners, and 2020 marks our 25th year anniversary. A quarter of a century ago, Farm Credit Financial Partners, or as many fondly refer to us as FPI, opened for business in Agawam, Massachusetts. We began with 32 employees and the ambitious goal of innovating technology services for farm credit. Today, we have grown to over 250 employees across the country, serving 6 Agricultural Credit Association partners. To help us commemorate our 25-year history, we have with us Gerri Elixman for 28 years and Jason Hilzendeger for 16 years. Can you both please introduce yourself and explain what your current roles are here at FPI?
So Gerri Elixman, I have been with Farm Credit as a whole for, like I said, 28 years. I worked initially for Northwest Farm Credit Services. I came up through the ranks in similar roles that we have in FPI in customer service. And then managed that team and then transitioned over FPI when the technology unit moved from Northwest Farm Credit over to FPI. We merged those units. And then I was managing the help desk team, essentially, with customer support. And then my current role, I'm working as a service director for Northwest, focusing on their needs and also on Fresno Madera Farm Credit.
My name is Jason Hilzendeger, and like Anna said, I've been here with FPI for about 16 years. Similar to Gerri, I did kind of start in the farm credit system working with Northwest here in the Pacific Northwest, even back in the 1999 and 2000 days as kind of a contract worker and helping them with a variety of projects. So when I joined Northwest, it was right before, maybe about 6 to 12 months before the FPI merger, and I was in the infrastructure world. So I kind of grew up there, merged into FPI with the rest of the tech teams. And after that, kind of kept going in the infrastructure world and ended up kind of being the director of infrastructure here for a while within FPI. And after that is when I got an opportunity to kind of move more into the project-based world, customer-facing world, and then became ultimately a relationship manager and got to experience that side of our organization. And then moved into kind of a custom solutions group team that we formed here at FPI that was providing custom solutions and projects and things on a unique ACA by ACA basis. And then that kind of led into where I'm at today, where we just recently here this year started a solutions consulting group that Gerri's a part of, and the senior director of that solutions consulting group, trying to get FPI back into the business of working with our customers from a business standpoint, business need, business capability standpoint versus leading with technology and product. So that's kind of where I grew up in the infrastructure and ended up here on the customer business side.
Amazing. Thank you both for such beautiful indications of what you guys do. So with that being said, you both explained what your current roles are, and both kind of went into a brief history of everything you've done prior to this. Can you describe, either of you or both of you, can you describe what your past positions have been and how those have impacted your current role? Do you think there is more of a skill set with everything you've done in the past and putting it in towards the present?
Yeah, sure. I'll start off this time. Gerri started last time, so we'll kind of alternate. I believe that in my path, kind of being in the pure infrastructure and tech side, moving more into and getting exposure into the relationship management side, kind of the business side, ultimately being in a project-based execution kind of team. And I think the combination of all of those things really has helped me develop a well-rounded understanding of what we do for our customers, what our customers are expecting us to do or really want us to be doing for them. And it's really allowed me to develop kind of fairly deep relationships with our customers across a multitude of departments within their organizations. So not just on the tech side, not just on the security side or what have you, but really kind of a pretty wide swath across business, tech, security, different aspects and areas of their business.
Yeah, I 100% everything I've done with Northwest and FPI in those roles has built into what I do today. I've always been an advocate of what the end user or the employee at the organization is trying to do with technology is the most important for us to understand, and it helps us solve a problem regardless of it being a technical issue or a business related AgWorks issue as we have today with our systems, knowing what the actual employee is trying to accomplish in their job helps us solve that problem. So every single role I've had has always been focused on that, even when it was strictly in a technical support role and moving into understanding the business applications more, evolving to that. So I've had such a strong background in a lot of things for the company and the technology that it helps build that. I know lots of people used to say, Gerri knows where the skeletons are in the closet and can dig things out. And it's usually, that's only because I feel like I want to dig and try to solve things. And sometimes that gets me too far in the weeds, but it's something that I enjoy, is trying to solve that problem. And I appreciate, those efforts when other people take that too. So it definitely helps me in what I do today.
Overall, I feel like lots of the people I've interviewed and just people that I've talked to in FPI have all said the same thing. It's very important to have different perspectives, whether you have been in countless different roles or if you've only been in a few different roles. There's always something that's beneficial in different skill sets that work per role. So speaking of perspective, how has FPI evolved from your perspective? And that could be anything to do with the size of FPI, the processes that we take, the people since you have joined.
I guess from my standpoint, when I look at FPI, I think we've all, for quite some time now, size-wise, kind of in that relative, always been hanging around that 220, 250 kind of people, whether it's full-time engineers or contractors or a combination of the two. And I think where we've really changed is, in our philosophy and the systems that we're delivering to our customers, right? When you think about 16 years ago when I came on, we were just introducing Empower across the board to all of our customers. We had people like Egg Country and Northwest, and those people were just coming on as customers. We were rolling out that software to them for the first time. We had gone from an extremely distributed model with Empower and a massive amount of replication to a centralized model. And we really were able to embrace that product as our flagship product, right? We could put everything into it, from development to the back-end infrastructure that supported it, to understanding the business processes that our customers and how they used it, right? So from my perspective, where we've really evolved or changed, right, is clearly that philosophy has changed. You've seen it as we've moved through the Salesforce and Encino AgWorks platform. And we're really trying to evolve in a way that we're really integration partners with our customer. We're consultative partners with our customer. We're not developing the software. We're not owning it to the nth degree, but really trying to gain effectiveness through the use of these off-the-shelf products and really looking at integrations, data streams and workflows, single pane of glass kind of efforts, making it easy for our customers to use these new systems and trying to stay, instead of having these massive development efforts for custom coded applications, that we're trying to stay mainstream, be able to deliver quick and fast changes, be able to allow our customers to be a little bit different in the way that they do things and not have a single code stream that forces them into a single way of doing things. So, I know we're kind of in the very beginning of that, but it really is, I'll call it evolving, but it really is a process to where we're relearning systems, relearning business processes. Our customers are actually altering their business processes at the same time. And so I think it's going to be a continued effort, and we've got still quite a bit of time in this journey. But from that aspect, we have completely changed the way that we are doing business. Our customers using our systems, the systems that they're using to actually do their business, and hopefully that continues to extend out to the farmer customers, the customer members as well, and the systems that we're able to provide them in order to work better or work more effectively back with their ACA.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I can add to that, because that was really good, Jason, was, from a people perspective, it's the evolution of that, moving to systems that are out for the general population, like Salesforce and Encino and things like that, allows us to go out and get people with knowledge and skill set that have that foundational knowledge, and then we can just teach them the custom portions, I guess, for lack of better words, of that FPI has. And I think that is helpful because it brings in a new skill set versus, when I worked in customer support before and managed that unit, I always would say it's like, I'm looking for the right person versus their skill set because I have to teach them almost everything anyway because of our custom application. When we're working with something in a foundation of a off-the-shelf program, it allows us to, utilize the skill sets that are out there in the general market for personnel and then get people with strong skill sets there too.
Beautiful. Thank you both. Those were both very good. And I think, as you both were saying, when it comes to evolution or evolving a company, it's not just about the processes that we take or the technology in the technology company, but it is also the people because, as you said, Gerri, you have to teach everyone anyway, so you might as well choose someone who's a nice fit or is a nice accent to the rest of the company as well. So my next question for the both of you is, why is it important, or what is the strategic advantage of having a team stationed out on the West Coast?
I think location matters a lot when we have our associations across the United States. So it allows us to have better coverage. And we can co-locate. We're co-located with Northwest here in Spokane. And that is helpful because we can have face-to-face, we can build stronger relationships. But then also, it really is about the hours of service that we can provide. When we have personnel on this coast, then those hours extend versus things kind of shutting down at 5 p.m. Eastern. You still have associations that are working well past that for 3 or 4 hours of their day. So leveraging the West Coast for that is helpful. And I've always been a strong advocate of it. We need to grow our personnel out here. And during the pandemic, as we'll call it, yes, people can be located anywhere, but it still is helpful to have those East Coast hours or East and West Coast hours because it just extends that service, and our customers appreciate that.
Yeah, the only thing I would add on there is just from a factual standpoint, if you look at it, right? So if we look at the collective time zones of our customers, more than 70% of our customers are not in the Eastern time zone. And when you factor in some of our larger customers, such as Farm Credit West, Northwest, et cetera, over 50% of our branch locations and their staff are in Mountain or Pacific time. So as Gerri said, the ability to be able to support those folks to the end of their business day, 5 p.m. Pacific versus 5 p.m. Eastern, is critical to the success of their business, right? They need to know that we're here. They need to know that we're available for them, and they need to know that when they call that they can get the right person and the right skill set there to fix their problem. The only thing else I would add there that wasn't said already was, when you extend your location base, right, it allows you to tap into talent pools that are in different areas and locations of the country. And here in the Pacific Northwest, I think it fits really nicely for us in the way that on the West Coast, in places like Seattle, even to Oregon, California, et cetera, here in the Pacific Northwest, you have big companies, Microsoft, Salesforce, et cetera. They have huge, huge presences out here. And the training that's available, the programs that are filtering into the colleges that are here in the Pacific Northwest, all of that stuff feeds into a talent pool in an area that extends the ability for FPI to look for very skilled workers in a multitude of areas. So I think that is a very important strategic advantage when you started expanding your location.
Yeah, you bring up a really great point, Jason. I think it's important for all companies to have that sense of diversity in a way. You want to include all different areas of it, and there is different talent pools across the whole nation. What is going on over on the West Coast is very well different than what's happening on the East Coast, and those are some things that are very much so the same, especially in current times. You never know who you're going to find or what different backgrounds you're going to get or the different type of culture that's going to pop up at your company. So I think that is really neat.
Yeah, and you mentioned culture. I think it's just important to mention that too, that as you go from East Coast to, into the central part of the states, into the West Coast, et cetera, that culture and that attitude and that kind of way of life filters through to people. And if our customers are living in a particular area and are used to a certain culture, a certain way of life, pace of life, et cetera, I think it's also important that you're able to have people that are kind of on that same wavelength, if you will. So glad you mentioned culture, because it's just a cultural way of life thing to where you can relate to your customers in a different way if you're kind of living in that same area-based culture, if you will, right?
Absolutely. So that actually kind of leads me to the next question. As we have talked about already, you are co-located with Northwest Farm Credit Services. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So how have the employees stationed in the West benefited from being so closely linked with Northwest Farm Credit Services?
Yeah, I think I think between the items that Gerri and I kind of already threw out, I think that those are some key advantages or ways that the Northwest employee base has benefited from us being in that office. So we do share a space in their headquarters building. But I think probably what hasn't been said, it's kind of been alluded to, but the only other thing I would really throw out there is the ability to form those face-to-face relationships with our customers just takes the ability to work with them to a whole nother level other than when you're just dealing with people on the phone. I've never, when you're constantly transactional, if you will, in a phone-based type basis, where it's like I've never really met this person. Sometimes people on the phone, you can't read the nonverbal communications, you can't really just sit down. You know what? Let's talk it out over. Let's sit down and have some lunch. Let's sit down. Let's just take a walk around the building. Those things, I would equate it back to, I know every once in a while that, Northcote East Enfield office is very close to the Agawam or Springfield office now, right? So people are able to come and visit, have face-to-face meetings, get to the point where you're having conversations that are personal and you can relate to each other in a different way, right? It deepens the relationship. It deepens your ability to work with them on a day-to-day basis, and it deepens your understanding of what they're really trying to get at. And then they understand you better as well. So that's the only thing I would just add there is that personal interaction, that face-to-face interaction is critical, and it's critical for all of our customers. I wish we could do more, right? And in today's world, travel is limited, but anytime we could ever get people out in any branch, anywhere, spending time with the staff, spending time with the leadership of the association, it just deepens those relationships. It allows us to understand them better and allows us to actually solve for them in a better way.
Yeah, and I just echo that. I mean, I really don't have anything additional to add. I mean, the personal relationships, having come from Northwest previously, I mean, I have a lot of people I've known for a very long time working with Northwest, and you just have that trust. They trust you, you trust them, you know who to go to because you've established those personal relationships just by being with them in the same building for so long.
Yeah. Another thing is that you use the term, I guess, a picture is worth 1,000 words. There is nothing that is more valuable than just being able to sit down with somebody and say, show me what you're talking about. Show me the problem you're running into. Show me so I can see firsthand, so I can understand what you're trying to address. And that it allows us to do that with some of the Northwest folks in that building. And that really helps us understand, again, how we can better fix their problem or solve their needs.
I find this whole conversation actually quite fascinating. So I didn't really talk about myself quite too much before, but I'm a communications student at Western New England University here in Springfield, Massachusetts. And so, of course, constantly I'm talking about the logistics of communicating. And I liked how you mentioned, Jason, that a lot of it is face-to-face contact. You can't read nonverbals when it's all technological communication. 70% of communication, at least what communication theorists say, is nonverbal. The other 30% is tone and the actual words themselves. So it is very interesting to hear all those strategic advantages that you both mentioned, how important it is to be able to see them. And I know with the pandemic going on right now, I'm sure that is quite limited, but it's nice to have that background with all the people that you're working with, or the background with your customers, already having that preconceived relationship before having to transition into these technological times. I'm sure was very, very beneficial. So I really appreciate that conversation. Thank you very much. My next question for the both of you is, what processes or communication channels work well when trying to connect with the East Coast? So I know we alluded to that earlier as well. I know it can be difficult, but what works best for you guys? What are your preferences?
Well, my preference has always been probably picking up the phone and having a discussion. But really, from a communications perspective, I mean, over the last 8 to 9 months with the pandemic and working around that, it's really become important to have those collaborative meetings and discussions, and again, trying to establish that relationship with someone on the East Coast. I work with, so much of my job is with people that are all East Coast based. So we just have to have very open communication channels, be it through Teams, be it through email, Teams meetings, or, any type of, collaborative sessions. Teams has really been a benefit for that. I think it has opened up that face-to-face conversations that you can't have. When it's important to have a face-to-face conversation, and you turn the video on, and when it isn't. And I think that's how we best do it, and that's evolved, and it's shown that we can work from any location and do it successfully. I think we all adapted very quickly to working that way, and it's made us stronger because of it, and kind of broken down the walls. There used to be a pretty strong wall between East and West Coast, and kind of, because you were working in the West Coast office, you went to your West Coast resources versus going to your East Coast resources, and asking questions. And so it's just allowed us to kind of be more of a one conjoined group, East or West Coast or wherever in the country, because there's people that are all over the country in FBI working for us, and it's just broke those walls down.
I couldn't agree with Gerri more on the whole, the pandemic has really forced us as a company in its entirety to look for other means of communication, and whether that's been video calls or just using Teams and calling people either via Teams or picking up your cell phone and calling on the cell phone, or finding ways to, what I would say, instead of those in-person conversations that you could have, it's at least finding a way for live communication that you're getting a response. It's not, I send somebody an email, I waited 3 days, I didn't get a response, I mentioned somebody in some platform or in ServiceNow, or I asked a question. I encourage people a lot to drive for live communication, get a response, get a whatever, whether that's, if you can't get them on the phone, at least try chat, right? If nothing else, IM them and see if you can get at least a response so that you can get acknowledgement, right, or something. What I do want to say is, like, at least on the communication channels, I think, we do the best we can. The video conferencing, the full staff's always video conference, just picking up the phone, talking to people, trying to force. I think the people in the West were always cognizant or aware of the fact that they needed to try to force that communication to their peers, their counterparts, their team members in the East, right? Make sure they kept that line of communication open. Remember that we're here, right? Remember that we're part of the team, right? That kind of stuff. And in the past, what we did that I think is very important, and I sure hope we get back to, when the pandemic's over and travel's a thing again or whatever, is we used to have, folks from the East would come out here and spend a week working with their teammates and their staff members here in Spokane. People in Spokane would go out to Agawam, or, I guess now it's going to be Tower Square in Springfield, and spend a week working and doing those things, right? Senior leaders would, come here and spend time, and, they make a point of, hey, our next full staff meeting, we're going to have a couple executives in Spokane, and we're going to do it that way, right? So I just don't want to say that, yeah, although pandemic has forced us into this alternate ways of communication, and we're doing the best we can, and it's working. When all of this is over, it's going to be critically important back to those face-to-face interactions and finding a way for people to collaborate and spend time together, whether it's your staff members that you manage, the people that you work with every day, and your team members, and just having that interaction with people twice a year is huge, right? Versus never in the year. So
you guys make me think of a different question. I'm going to spring it on the both of you. It was not written down before, but it just has me thinking. It seems like you two are very close. For people who end up listening to this, they were talking about their dogs prior to this. But my question for now, both of you, that I'm spurring on you in the moment, is it seems like you both are close, and you're close with your team, and you really value that teamwork and that camaraderie. So at least out there, do you have any ideas or things that your team does pre or post COVID that you would recommend to other groups or other teams out there to encourage connectivity amongst team members, if that makes sense?
Yeah, sure. No, that's a great question. And I think, my 2 cents on it is this, right? When you have an office of 25 to 30 people, it's easier to do smaller, more frequent things that you can constitute as team building efforts, whether that's we fired up the grill on a Friday afternoon for lunch, and we did an hour lunchtime where we cooked some burgers and we had kind of a potluck and those types of things, right? I know that the folks in Springfield, they try to do that. It's a very large company, right? You get 200 people, it's hard to do that. People break away, do that stuff. But, so there's always been that kind of culture in Spokane of what can we do? How can we continue to kind of support each other and team build, right? We are a satellite office, right? So let's acknowledge that. Let's make sure that we stay in tune with the mothership, so to speak. But we also have to make sure that we support each other because of the nature of kind of being that satellite office, right? We can't lose sight of being part of FPI and get lost in the fact of many people used to say, oh, those guys are, they're just part of Northwest, kind of, right? So it was important for us to maintain or find ways to continue that communication back to FPI. And, so just from a culture standpoint, it's very different, right? I would assume we have the advantage because we're small, we're able to do more things together. And it is quite a tight-knit team out in Spokane because we have been through quite a lot together. And many of the folks who are still in Spokane, a good probably 50% of them, are folks like myself and Gerri, right? We have the people that have been there 15 plus years. They were here when we made the merge. They've been, we have a lot of people that have been here at least 10 years or more out in Spokane. And so because of that, we have worked together so closely for such a long period of time that it's made it easy to kind of have that both professional and personal relationships and kind of expand on that and work closer together in a kind of a small office culture, if you will.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is I know all our staff is missing desperately Donut Fridays. So every 2 weeks, I actually had it on my calendar. I am the donut lady that would bring donuts in every other Friday, pretty much like clockwork. And so that brings everybody together just in a small way. And then I think the other things is people form their own little things, go out for walks together, go out to lunches together, typical office things. But yeah, I think just like Jason said, just having the impromptu, we're going to have, breakfast this morning for, for whatever reason, if it's around a holiday or just because, that's something that we'll choose to do and bring that in and it brings everybody together for that, celebrating birthdays, monthly birthdays, things like that.
Yeah, and in case you didn't catch on that, there's a prime theme wrapped around food in the Spokane office, even more so than it is in Springfield.
If you haven't seen anyone for a while because they've just been sitting in your cube, just bring some food out, and now you'll like, oh, I haven't seen you for 2 weeks.
See, now I'm thinking maybe I need to go to Spokane. If there's a promise of donuts, I don't know.
Nope.
Well, we need to get back to the office first, and so that sounds like May now. So
I'll make it a mission.
Right.
I have considered would you all come to the parking lot on a Friday for donuts? But we're all pretty spread out across Spokane proper, so I don't think so.
Thank you for those ideas. Those were lovely to hear about. My final question for the both of you. This is the big question. This is usually what stumps people. But what is your vision for FPI's next 25 years?
Do you want to go or you want me to go, Gerri?
Oh, you can go.
So this is interesting to me because I think I've been here for a good majority of FPI's existence, right? And I look at what we've done, where we've been, how we started, right? How I came in at the tail end when FPI was making a charge and growing out into, like I said, into the egg country area and kind of that, into Northwest, into whatever. They had Farm Credit West, but they kind of really were expanding and growing, changing their core product, providing that, providing those services to the customers. And so when you say, what do I vision FPI doing for the next 25 years? I would say I see us doing the same thing that we've always done. We're just going to have to find a way to do it differently as the systems and technology and products change that are available to us, to our responsibility to continuously change, grow, update, get to a point where we're still providing the highest level of technology and things to our customers, but ultimately all we're doing is the same thing as trying to meet their business needs on a day in and day out basis, trying to make their days more effective, trying to make it easier for them to use the systems, get to the data, understand their customers better, right? How can we help them reach out, and what channels can we offer to them for their customers to, them to talk to their customers or customers to talk to them. So, I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, and I'd say, yeah, just more of the same, just different. But it really is. And I think we have to make sure that we're doing it in a consultative manner. We have to do it in a way that we're leading with business understanding, business knowledge, and addressing business needs and capabilities. And at some point in time, we have to get to the point where we can actually say, maybe the best answer to address your business need is to do nothing, because we've actually already got a solution for it. Let's take a look at it. Let's not constantly jump at a new product, jump at a new offering, jump at something and try to find a fit for it, right? Sometimes we do that. We do the round, let's put the square peg in the round hole, when really we just need to sit and listen, right? Sit and listen, understand what they're asking for, see how we can solve the needs with what we have. And if we can't solve the needs with what we have, then we go out and look for something that will solve their needs and how that might integrate into our current ecosystem, eggworks, et cetera, right? It really is, in my mind, doing what we've always done, trying to understand our customers' business and find ways to provide products and technologies and solutions to make it easier for them to do their day job.
I don't think I have much to add to that. I think, in 25 years, that's a long time from now, but, and I will gladly be retired by then. I will not be here 25 years from now. I already hit that hump on the 28 years here. So I think I agree with Jason, doing the same thing. One of the biggest things for FPI is they have a strategic advantage of understanding that our association customers' lending business or their services businesses is completely unique to the commercial world of banking, and us using that to our advantage is the best tool that we have. I mean, knowing that we can understand their business the best way possible and make technology match to that, it in essence is doing the same thing we do today. I just hope it just continually improves it, that we are at that cutting edge or getting closer to that cutting edge of offering tools and products to them that they can offer then to their customers that increases everybody's efficiency and effectiveness.
Amazing. Thank you both so much. We can wrap it up now. I appreciate you both waking up nice and early to do this with me. We thank you very much for taking the time to celebrate FPI's 25th anniversary and sharing all the stories with us.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Gerri.
Thank you, Emma and Jason.